Some rumors are popping on conference realignment, man. It sounds to me like the Big 12 and Brett Yormark are saying, hey, listen, UConn, you guys are phenomenal at basketball. Why don't you come on our way? It looks like, from what I read, that Brett Yormark is trying to get UConn's basketball program to come in 27, I think.
26.
26.
Yeah.
And then their football program in 31, which means hey, y'all stay on that side.
Yeah. No. I understand that.
I kind of understand.
And that's going to be the holdup to the whole thing is they suck at football. Nobody wants that football program. And we've talked, me and Gabe, and you as well, Kenny, like we've talked about this ad nauseum since we started talking about conference realignment. And this is genuine as a more of a football fan than basketball fan, but someone who can separate the two. Basketball just does not move the needle. I'm sorry. It doesn't. I know we live in a basketball town. I know the University of Memphis has always been primarily referred to as a basketball school, but basketball doesn't move the needle. I am sorry. Yeah. It does not. It does not generate the money. It does not generate, the fan support. It doesn't generate a tenth as much as football does. And that's why I think so far in the voting, I think maybe 2 agreed to it, 8 were undecided, and
no, it was six agreed at UConn to pass this. 6 agreed to pass it, 2 said no, and 8 were undecided.
And
so I think they can get to the 12 they need. Yeses.
Correct. 12 is what they need for it to pass. And could it? Yeah, absolutely. And it will move relatively quickly with it being 2026 for the basketball program. But if it doesn't pass, if they don't get the 12 they need, it's going to be because their football program sucks so bad.
Now let me do this.
Come on,
brother. I agree with you. Listen, I agree with you. Their football program is trash. Now I do think that they have shown when they're in a decent situation football wise in the Big East,
they can be serviceable.
Randy Edsall had some damn good years, bro. They're in the Orange Bowl one year. Like they've shown in the past they can be okay in football.
Anybody remember Donald Brown?
And I do. Indianapolis Colts legend. Now, I'm going to push back a little bit, brother, because listen.
Go for it.
I agree with you. Basketball doesn't move the needle. The 2-time defending national champion basketball program, though, moves the needle. It does to a certain extent. If you're talking about brands in the Northeast that are playing college athletics, both football and basketball, that's probably the biggest brand, if not top 2, top 3. And I will say this about Brett Yormark. I think he's nuts. I think he's insane. He's trying to play Big 12 basketball in Mexico City. Right. And he's, he just does some crazy shit all the time. But can I say this? His crazy shit has worked.
It works.
Yeah. I'm impressed with that guy, man.
Yeah.
He has said to hell with any bit of tradition, none of that. We're past that. I need to go strengthen my product. And I got to be honest, there was talks about Gonzaga being this team. I think UConn makes a hell of a lot more sense than Gonzaga ever would.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100% because at least there is the prospect of a potential rise in that football program, and that could give you a potential selling point or potential hope. And I also agree, yes, 2-time defending national champion, that does move the needle more than just a solid basketball program. But at the same time, how much sustained success, and I know UConn is a massive brand, but what happens if Danny Hurley ultimately does leave? What happens if they do slip?
What happens if the Lakers come back with a better offer?
But I will say this, though. Here's what you can say about that. Here's what UConn fans would tell you directly to your face. We won one with Kevin Ollie. We won one with, who's the guy before him? Jim Calhoun. We won one with Danny Hurley. It doesn't make a damn. We can get this thing going whenever the hell we want. Yeah. And I know there was some lean years with Danny Hurley and with Kevin Ollie because they were under those recruiting restrictions, had show causes up the their neck. I understand that, but that's what they'd say back to you is you can say what if Danny Hurley leaves, but we've had a run here of 3 straight coaches who may have had some lean years, but ultimately what happened? Won natties.
Yeah,
they won natties.
And that's that is such a fair argument to make. But say that by the time they were to join the Big 12, let's say this vote passes, and by that time, just hypothetically, Danny Hurley has decided to move on, and that basketball program goes through some lean years again, then this decision looks idiotic. Even if it does turn back around, even if eventually it does turn back around, it looks so stupid because they offer zero value at that point.
Yeah, at that point. But I think they do have a hell of a fan base for that basketball program.
They do.
They have a decent fan base for the football program. They have all they have a decent group of cities up there in the Northeast that have densely populated areas that they feel comfortable about attacking. Right. I think this actually, to me, makes a whole lot more sense. Now, here's the other question we need to have. This would get them to 17 members in football by 2031. You ain't sticking at 17, are you?
No.
Like you're rounding that up to 20, 22. You're rounding that the hell up. And where would that leave a lot of schools? Like, we'll see what happens with the ACC. Where would that leave Memphis? Like, that's the question I have, because I think that this ultimately will happen based on the reports I've been seeing. If you have 6 yeses on the first vote and 8 undecided, we're going to be able to pay 6 of those people to come around and join the Big 12. Because I think, monetarily, it would make sense for them. You have bigger TV deals. You strengthen the Big 12's stronghold on college basketball. I just think for all parties involved, it makes a fair amount of sense.
Yeah, real quick question on this. What do you think? So, if you listen to a friend of the show, Gary Parrish, had a whole spiel today talking about this whole situation, and it was really insightful because he knows Brett Yormark well. Like they have a relationship. And it's such an interesting dynamic between Brett Yormark kind of being a disruptor of the common way that commissioners have always done things, right? Like they've always thought football is the money driver. And Yormark is saying, screw the money right now. I'm trying to build up our product. And his history is basketball. He comes from a basketball, historically a basketball situation. Is he gonna win on this? Is his mindset gonna win? Like, are we gonna see the Big 12 change, or does money talk the entire way through? Football rules all.
I think football will always rule all.
It will never change.
I do think that his way of thinking is he's not being dumb here. That's the way I'm going to. I think he is actually trying to be a little bit forward thinking and smart. To add a program, a blue blood like UConn to your basketball product, it means something. It doesn't mean what it would mean for football. If you added Alabama to your conference, it would mean a hell of a lot more. I get that. But adding UConn to your basketball product, you can't just chalk that up like we have in the past and say that means nothing. That means something. It does.
I don't know.
I don't disagree with it, but at the same time, it's not gonna make a conference powerhouse. And I know that we have to view conference realignment in a completely different vein now. Like typically it'd be one school moving every so often, and now we're talking about eventually probably going to super conference powers, and that's likely the road that we're headed on. But these kind of moves, at the end of the day, they're just not going to do much. You're never going to be in competition with the Big Ten. You're never going to be in competition with the SEC. It's never going to happen. You're never going to be. That's what I'm trying
to say. Here's what I'm going to ask, because I think this is important to both of y'all. I think this is an interesting conversation. The dynamic he's creating by trying to bring in a basketball power. For me, it almost feels as if he got his four corner schools. He got a good school in Utah. He brought in Colorado and Prime. He brought in all these good, these solid football schools. He's done what he can to strengthen the football product. Is this kind of like, all right, we have nothing to lose. Let's experiment with this. Let's see what happens. Can we grow our TV deals on the basketball side?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me, and I think it's worth it. I think it's totally worth it to try this. I think it's all. I think it's fair. Fair point. Now, all right, where real quick. I just have to do this real quick. Where's this leave Memphis? Where do we think about Memphis? I think the best opportunity. Best opportunity, isn't it? Just like ACC doesn't lose everything. They have some open spots. Come on down. That's kind of what
it's gonna have to be.
I know
the
the Big
ACC
12 says they're open
leftovers.
for business, but I don't know if Brett Yormark's super keen on the idea of Memphis right now.
Not sure either.
No, I don't think so either.